Welcome back everyone. It's been almost a year since our last helmet tier list video. We're halfway through the 2021 season and we have a whole new set of helmets to rank.
We'll be covering everyone's regular season helmets as well as the special ones we've seen so far.
If you enjoy this type of video, be sure to let us know as we might do a part 2 at the end of the season. And let's now have a look at our categories.
At the very top of our list, we have absolutely stunning. These are the best helmets we have seen on the grid so far. Nothing else quite compares.
Just below that, we have What a Beauty. These are really good looking helmets, but just not the best.
Our next category, one of my personal favorites, is That's a Helmet. It's bang average. That's about it.
Next we have Not Quite. These are the helmets that fall flat and need improvement.
And last, and very certainly least, we have Forgetful. These helmets are just not up to par.
So let's get straight into ranking these helmets. Starting off with looking at all the regular season helmets for each driver.
First up on our list, we have Carlos Sainz. Love the matte black with the pops of bright colors. I think it flows really well. I would put this in What a Beauty.
Next up, we have Charles Leclerc. I know you personally don't like this helmet, but I do think at least the red not being as bright and in your face works in its favor. So I'd probably put this in That's a Helmet.
Next up, we have Checo, seeing something different from him this year because of the team switch. I find he's done a pretty good job at not making it the most aggressive Red Bull branding I've ever seen. The yellow is a little bit much for me, but I'd probably put this in That's a Helmet.
Next, we have Max Verstappen. I'd say it's pretty similar to last year, but this time fully white. It's not your typical navy blue Red Bull helmet, and that lion on top is absolutely beautiful, so I would put this in What a Beauty.
Next up, we have Mr. Daniel Ricciardo. I'm gonna go right out and say it. Absolutely stunning. He's nailed it yet again.
I really like the powder blue and the contrast with the orange, so it's going in absolutely stunning. Next we have Fernando Alonso, an homage to one of his old previous helmets. I'm gonna put this in What a Beauty. I do like how the lines make his helmet look like he's going fast.
Next up we have Ocon. I definitely prefer the color palette that he's gone for this year. Such an improvement over last year.
Is it a beauty?
I'd put it in That's a Helmet. It's nothing special.
We have our first AlphaTauri helmet, Pierre Gasly. I am tired of how big the AlphaTauri logo is on these helmets.
It gives them no room for creativity. I think Pierre has done what he could with his logo and his numbers, but once again, it just falls flat, and I don't think that's his fault.
It's gonna end up going in Not Quite, I feel. And next up we have Sonoda. Surprisingly, it's not the same helmet, but they look so much alike.
I mean, it looks pretty much identical to Pierre's, so this also has to go in Not Quite.
Next up we have Valtteri's helmet for this year.
I hate this. It looks awful.
I don't mind the powder blue, but I would just get rid of his logo and I think it would be a step up.
See, I'm the opposite. I like the color of the powder blue. I hate whatever pattern that is. It just looks like the helmet is unfinished. Forgetful. I want to forget this helmet because it's so bad. Next up, we have Lewis with his classic purple helmet, this time around adding some gold accents.
He's got the 7 stars going down the side of his helmet for the 7 world championships he's won. I wouldn't say it's absolutely stunning. I feel like there's more things that could pop out of this helmet, so I would put it in What a Beauty though.
Agreed. I think if he kept some of the white details, it just would have popped that little bit more.
Next, we have Sebastian Vettel, who's opted for a more pink helmet this year.
I think a lot of us, and myself included, were kind of sad to see his classic German flag helmet say goodbye. This is a bit more of a new take on that style.
There is a version, though, of this helmet with the German flag stripes, and I personally find that helmet so much nicer. I would have put in that one in absolutely stunning. In this case, I still like the design, so I put it in What a Beauty.
Next up, we have Lance Stroll with the completely green Aston Martin helmet. I personally love it. I love the shiny wings on the side.
I really like the wings coming out of the visor. It reminds me of a Valkyrie. And just because we're Canadian, it also has that maple leaf on top of it, so I would put this in absolutely stunning. Next up, we have George Russell. I'm not really a fan of it. it doesn't look or work really with either his overalls or the livery.
Yeah, I'd put this down in probably not quite. Next up, we have our other Canadian, Nicholas Latifi, sporting a very similar design to last year. I think my issue with it is that in the blue parts of the helmet, you have this like geometric, almost snakeskin, scaly design, but then on the red bits, you have all these swoops and swirls, and to me, it just kind of feels a little bit conflicting.
I would have to say it's definitely better than George's, so it's not in not quite. We'd probably put it in That's a Helmet. Next we have Mick Schumacher. Of course we can see the German flag here, but we also have that lime green that we saw in Checo's helmet. The colors are all over the place on this one.
There are elements to this helmet that I do like. He kind of has those little star-like patterns on the top, like an ode to his father. For me, it's just the color choices. They don't blend very well, but Mick has a bright future ahead of him in the sport, so I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think looking back, we will forget about this one. So I'm putting this in forgetful. Next up, we have Mick's teammate Nikita. Wanna dislike this helmet, but honestly, it's pretty okay. He's kept the color palette very simple, very clean, and all of the blocking makes it so that the line work is much more legible. I'd still put it at just a helmet because there's nothing overly innovative about this.
Next up we have Kimmy, and it might be the last helmet that we might see from him. How would we rate this one?
I like the blue a lot. That's about it.
I like the red personally as well. I think it's not quite there, but I don't dislike it.
So we'll put it in not quite. Here we have Antonio's helmet, once again sporting that Italian flag. This helmet only really makes sense when you're looking at it head on, but the geometric style is pretty cool. I like how symmetric it is.
I'm gonna say let's put this up in What a Beauty. Definitely a helmet style we're gonna remember.
Now you might be thinking, wait a second, they forgot about Lando. No, we actually didn't. It's just that his helmet design hasn't really changed between last year and this year, so we've already ranked it, and if you want to see where that one ended up, you can go check out our previous video. So instead, we are going to jump into the special helmets now, kicking it off with Lando's glitch style helmet that he sported in Bahrain. To all the Lando fans out there, I am very sorry for this, but I do not like this helmet one bit.
So I'd probably put it at not quite, because we've seen him do better helmets in the past with the same format. It's just this one didn't hit right. So let's take a closer look at some of our other specialty helmets now.
First up, we have Charles Leclerc, going for a different vibe this time around. He's actually switched it up and gone to a blue instead of his typical red.
It's a tribute to Louis Chiron, another Monegasque driver in F1.
I still think, once again, the issue with a lot of Ferrari helmets is the sponsors. They just kind of look slapped on like stickers, and that doesn't fit the theme for this helmet. So I'd put it in That's a Helmet. Next up, Daniel Ricciardo also went with a retro style helmet for this race. We have the all bright orange. Got some little writing here and there, kind of making it look like it's a little bit scuffed up and used.
The only thing I see wrong with this helmet is the sponsors, and it kind of looks like someone graffitied on his helmet. Just by how they're placed, it's not really symmetrical. They're kind of all over the place.
Still though, with the visor looking super old school, I'd probably put this one in What a Beauty.
Next we have Latifi's helmet. It has a very similar layout to his main racing helmet. I have to say this helmet though is a major step up with the color palette, the photos being overlaid in the background. We can even see Claire and Frank. I think this is absolutely What a Beauty.
George went for a very similar thing with the blue all around. I think this fits much better than the clunky blue and red of his original helmet. Once again, you see some of the previous eras, very similar theme to Latifi's. I like this one as well.
I do prefer Latifi's over this one, so I'd probably place this in That's a Helmet. Next we also have Lando's helmet, who followed similar suit as Daniel with a retro style-esque helmet. You got the goggles on top. It even looks like it's stitched together, the leather in the front part of the helmet.
Overall, I do really like this helmet. I love that it matched the Gulf livery. The one thing that I can't get past is the fact that it is completely black in the front. Other than the stitching, you can't tell that this is supposed to look like leather, and I just kind of wish that the design would have continued down the front instead of just having that block color. I get the point, I just don't think it looks good.
So I'd probably put it in a beauty.
I agree, because ultimately it's just one component that I dislike about it, but the rest is pretty great. Valtteri also had a special helmet for Monaco. I think it was meant to look cartoonish, but I don't know if it came across that accurately. It's a step up, but it's nothing substantial, so we'll put it in not quite.
Next we have Charles's helmet from Imola. Very, very busy. However, the color scheme, at least with the green, matches the Kaspersky sponsor.
I'll keep it short and sweet and say I don't like this helmet because my brain is confused.
But overall, this helmet is pretty forgetful.
We have another Imola helmet, this time with Antonio's. I don't know what's going on with this one. I'm not a huge fan, unfortunately.
It is quite different for Giovinazzi versus his regular helmets. I really like the colors going on in here. I'd probably place this in that's a helmet. Next we have Checo's helmet from Austria. It's kind of similar to Max's helmet, so I'd probably put it on par with it.
I agree, and I think my favorite part about this helmet is that it looks stitched on. I think that's a really nice detail, and I think it complements itself quite well. I'd put this in what a beauty. Max's, on the other hand, I personally don't think quite hit the mark.
I feel like just the yellow in this helmet doesn't really suit that well with the design, so can probably place this in that's a helmet. Next we have Lance Stroll's purple helmet from Austria.
I like the color overall. It also has some really cool coating, like digital design on the back, which is nice, but the thing for me that kind of lets me down is the fact that the wings aren't shiny. It's just the white plastered on, and it doesn't quite jump out at you the way that the green one does. It's still quite similar in design, but just a few elements missing in comparison to the original, so we're gonna put this one in that's a helmet. Moving over to the French Grand Prix, we had Pierre sporting this slightly edited version with the French flag on the top of his helmet.
I like this one much better. I wish this was his regular season helmet. I'd probably put it up in what a beauty, because this is probably the best they're going to get with that big AlphaTauri logo on the helmet. We then have Charles's throwback helmet to his first racing helmet back in the karting days.
I don't think it looks bad, but funny enough, I think it looked better on his original karting helmet than in the redesigned version.
So we'll probably put this in not quite.
Switching over to Silverstone, we'll start off with George, who very much put London on display in this helmet. I don't know how the British fans will feel about this one. I kind of think it's a little bit tacky. He looks like a walking tourism board, but I'm sure everyone at the track enjoyed it.
Maybe the flag in his number is the thing I like the most in this helmet, but I'd put it on par and not quite. Next, we have Lewis Hamilton's helmet from the British Grand Prix.
I like that he went for something a little bit different. It is quite messy. There's a lot going on. But overall, I think that the colors blend together quite well.
I like also just how there's some paint splatter on it. We don't see that in any other helmet.
I would personally put this in what a beauty. I think he took a risk with this helmet, and it also fits really, really well with the sponsors. Rounding off for the British Grand Prix, we have Lando, who did a tribute helmet to key workers, particularly pertaining to the NHS, and had fans write handwritten notes to put on the helmet. In terms of the aesthetic, there's not really much I can say about it. It's just a bunch of handwriting.
But we'll probably just put this in that's a helmet.
Concept is fantastic. It's just there's not much for us to comment on in terms of design.
Next, we have Charles Leclerc's helmet from the British Grand Prix, an homage to Ferrari's first win in F1.
My comment on this is that I wish this were his regular season helmet. I think it's clean and simple enough that he could pull it off at every race. That being said though, it's still pretty standard, so we're gonna put it in that's a helmet. Last but certainly not least, we have the most recent addition to this list, Sebastian Vettel's Hungarian Grand Prix helmet. I love the fact that he still included the map on it. It has this gray chrome kind of feel. I'm honestly a really big fan of this one. I think it looks great.
I also like, once again, instead of the German flag, it is that rainbow flag, so it adds a particularly nice touch to the helmet. I'd probably put this in absolutely stunning. It's a great blend of what the message he was trying to send and pretty similar to what he currently already has, which we already have shown that we really like.
I think a lot of fans felt very strongly about this one. It touched a lot of people. It's a great design, just A+ all around. Absolutely stunning.
So there you go, that is our tier list for the first half of the 2021 season.
You let us know your opinions. Do you agree with our choices? Would you have changed some things up? Make sure to let us know down in those comments.
Of course, if you've enjoyed this type of video, don't forget to leave it a like, hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you in our next video.
Bye!